And this is Whittaker Weekly, your source of weekly geeky anime news. Or at least, we hope it is.
It better be, or we will find you.
No. Anyways, let's get right into it.
All right. So, first item of news we've uncovered is that
Uncovered. We literally went to Anime News Network and found some things we wanted to talk about. It's
Yes.
not much digging.
yes, we dug with a spoon, and after a second, we're like, all right, we're done. So after some digging.
No, not all of it. Not all of it is Anime News Network. Some of it is Silicon Era. But yeah, this news isn't written by us. So we're not trying to take any credit for it at all. This is stuff that we find cool and want to talk about it.
Right. So the first thing has to do with Gintama. And apparently, a couple of groups, Spy Air, Chicho with Honeyworks, to perform new Gintama anime theme songs.
Ooh.
So it looks like moving forward, we're going to have these groups. Are you familiar with them? Do you know any of their work?
No, not off the top of my head. I do not. Though Gintama went on hiatus after it aired episode 353, and then it's coming back in July.
Okay.
I know the manga is set to either be wrapping up or it has wrapped up. I haven't looked into that recently, but I do know that the manga is ending here or has ended. I'll have to double check that. Okay. But yeah, so it sounds like they've announced some bands and stuff. Those bands to do the probably the opening and the closing songs for the new season of Gintama when it comes back in July. And
in other Gintama
I'm still way behind. I'm still like on episode 120, something like that.
Okay.
So I kind of just watched Gintama, a couple of episodes here and there. I love it, but it's not something I want to binge watch. I feel if I binge watch it, I'll lose the savor that it has I have for it. But yeah,
right. Keeping up with more Gintama news, a live-action Gintama 2 film is in the works, and they've just produced a teaser poster featuring actor Jiro Sato. Doing it hasn't been disclosed what role he's playing yet, but he's the poster is an homage to The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah, it is. It's called The Gintama Part 2.
Gintama Part 2.
And he's got a really, really cool pose, looking kind of at the camera sideways. Yeah.
So it's just ridiculously silly, which is the spirit of Gintama.
I don't know if they actually... I have to look into it. I don't know if they actually released the first one in America, the first Gintama movie. I kind of want to see it just so I can compare it to the anime.
Sure.
But at the same time... it's like GTO, Great Teacher Onizuka.
Yeah.
The live-action show was pretty good, but it's nowhere near the level of the anime when it comes to comedy, just because with the anime they have the ability to just draw such great faces on the characters for the reaction shots and whatnot. Same thing with Gintama.
No, keep going.
Same thing with Gintama. Half of the... sorry. I thought we were having some sound problems there for a moment, but I guess we're good. Same thing with Gintama. He's got some just amazing reaction shots that you can't really duplicate in real life.
Right.
I still want to see it. Still want to see how how they interpreted it live action. But when you go into these things, you have to realize that it's just not going to be the same.
Yeah, the stills of the main cast looked really interesting. Looks really true to the to at least the 3 episodes I've seen.
Yeah. You need to watch more of it.
I do need to watch more of it. I do. It's just one of those on my to-do lists.
So after Gintama, we got a little bit of One Piece news. You want to go into that?
Yes. Apparently, they're putting together a live stage production of One Piece, and their Anime News Network is featuring some videos of Luffy and the band that will be playing for this production.
Well, they've actually done multiple stage shows of One Piece.
Oh, of course they have.
That's actually how Oda-san, the guy who creates One Piece, That's how he met his wife. His wife actually played Nami in one of those shows.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's how he met his wife. And after they got married, a lot of fans noticed that Nami started being drawn a lot more sexy. So at first, Oda-san really didn't have much interest in women, which is why Nami, while she was cute, was never all that, over-the-top, voluptuous type stuff.
No.
But after he got married to Nami, a lot of fans think... Or after he got married to the girl who played Nami, I'm forgetting the actress's name.
Yes.
He started drawing Nami more sexy, and people say that him getting married probably opened his eyes to the wonderful things that women can do. So yeah, that's something that I read online somewhere, I forget where, but he married the actress who played Nami in one of the stage productions.
Good for him.
So yeah, Animated News Network has some videos on the band. I believe all the guys in the band are actually going to be dressed up as Luffy, if I read this correctly. So...
Japan. Never change. It looks like you have a couple of One Punch Man announcements to make.
Yeah, a couple of One Punch Man announcements. First and foremost, Season 2 of One Punch Man has been licensed by Viz. Viz Media. They had the rights to the first season.
Yes.
When I bought the Blu-ray, it was Viz that put it out. And that reminds me that I forgot the Blu-ray has the OVA episodes on it, where they were all individual episodes with characters that weren't in the original series. Or like some of them were in the original series, but like not all of them. Fubuki, who is another psychic, the younger sister of
the tornado.
Tatsumaki.
Of the tornado, and
she's got an episode,
and she's younger, but physically more mature.
Yes, that's a nice way of putting it.
She's taller and less Lolita.
So yeah,
and
Viz
by less,
Media,
I mean not at all.
Viz Media has the rights, the licensing rights here, and then we may have released a, as comicbook.com reported, someone may have accidentally let slip when the premiere of One Punch Man Season 2 is coming out.
Ooh, when is this?
Well, according to the tweet sent out by Yonko Productions, and that I really, really like that name. If those of you who aren't familiar with the Japanese translation of One Piece, or the Japanese version,
You mean One Punch?
No, I'm talking about One Piece.
Back to One Piece.
Because Yonko is from One Piece. They're on the Grand Line, which is the ocean in the center of the world that goes around the entire world.
Yes.
The second half of it, most of it is ruled over. Actually, almost all of it has been divided up between 4 pirate lords that in English we call the 4 emperors.
Okay.
But in Japanese, it's the Yonko.
Okay.
So Yonko Productions is just a play on that.
Okay.
Anyways, One Punch, according to the tweet, I'll just go ahead and read it here. This came out May 15th. We're recording this on the 16th. So One Punch Man Season 2 is probably going to follow OPM Season 1. With regards to its production being ahead. Not surprised that they're screening the first episode in August, but it bodes well for the schedule in that regard. Okay. So it looks like they're already ahead of schedule, which is great. But they just said they're screening the first episode in August. So when they do the screening, it's not that much further before it gets released. We're looking maybe September, October release for One Punch Man Season 2. So, yeah. We're definitely going to be doing that for 3 episodes in. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we also, for those gamers out there, both Lee and I are pretty old school gamers. There was never a time I remember in our house where we didn't have a gaming system of some sort. Either Dad's computer, the Atari, I think it was the Atari 2600 we had.
Yes.
And then, we got the NES, the Super Nintendo, N64 and stuff like that, all through growing up. One of my all-time favorite games was Chrono Trigger.
It's a fantastic game.
And Square Enix recently released it for the PC, but they really upset a lot of the fans because it was a port of the Android and iPhone release, and it still had the big clunky interface that is useful on a phone because you want the big buttons to be able to press on it.
Sure.
But when you're on a monitor, you don't need that.
When your real estate, when you're using touchscreen, some of your real estate is going to go to the interactivity.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on PC, you don't need a touchscreen.
No. And and they released this on Steam for the PC. And they also had filters that tried to make the graphics look more modern and stuff, and people were very, very upset about that. And so Square has actually been backtracking. And there's actually been interviews with Square saying that we didn't actually realize people wanted to play the old game. We thought they wanted to play updated versions of it. It doesn't make sense to us why they'd want to play just the same game.
Well, given how much everybody wants a remake of their Final Fantasies and their more modern graphics, it would make sense that they would think that people would want an updated Chrono Trigger.
It makes sense that they would think that.
But this Chrono Trigger, this game, pushes the nostalgia button so hard that people don't want it updated. People love it the way it was. Like, maybe add those Akira Toriyama animation sequences.
Well, that's one of the things they did here in the second patch. They actually released for the DS release of Chrono Trigger, they added some anime cutscenes. Well, actually, no, that was on the PS1 release when they first did that, and then for the DS release, they also added the anime cutscenes from the Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. He did the character design for
Dragon Ball and Dragon Warrior.
But anyways, they've been releasing patches to backtrack and make improvements and make it more like the original.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's just going on kind of the topic of remakes and re-releases. Like, I know people would eat up a remake of Chrono Trigger with modern day graphics. Same with people who are super obsessed with the Final Fantasy VII remake that's been announced.
Oh yeah.
Updated graphics. Updated.
But you want consistency.
Yeah, you want consistency. If you're going to release the original Chrono Trigger, make it as close to the original Chrono Trigger as possible.
Right.
Here in the States, we love that nostalgia. We love going back and seeing those same games over and over and over again. For crying out loud, the only version of Chrono Trigger I haven't purchased is the one for the PC. I have it for the Super Nintendo. I have the Japanese Super Famicom version.
Yeah.
I have the DS. I have the PS1. I have the Android version. I don't own an iPhone, so I don't have that one. But the only one I don't own is the PC release. I love Chrono Trigger. Same with Final Fantasy VI, actually. Yeah. I own multiple versions of that game. Everything except for the PC release, because the PC release was just a port of the Android version, which wasn't that great of a version anyways. But anyways, that's enough on that. We recently, this is reported by Silicon Era. Other sites reported it as well, but that's the site that I generally find myself going to these days. Those are recommended by a friend of mine. They uncovered, or it's been reported by other sites as well, that 2 new Pokemon domains have been registered, and these are believed to be the domains for the Pokemon Switch game that's being worked on. And they're believed to be remakes of Red and Blue for the Switch, with Pokemon Go technology and stuff put into it as well. And in Japan, it's Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.com and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.com. And for those of you who know what Eevee is, it's the little fox-looking Pokemon that can turn into multiple different evolutions depending on what stone you give it.
Yes, it's the one with the most branching options.
Yeah, Vaporeon, Electron, or not Electron.
Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon, Espeon,
but it's only the 3 in the first one.
Right, in the first one, it's just the 3.
So it's looking like it might be a remake of the original and there's been leaks, people posted things on parts of the internet where they say they have connections at Nintendo and that this is the stuff that's going to be in the game, and mostly I don't care about that, but this is actual. People have found that these sites have been registered, so we're probably going to learn more about it with Nintendo's E3 streaming event, because in the last several years they haven't actually attended E3. They've done their Nintendo Direct for E3.
Right.
Though Nintendo has said that for E3 they are letting fans reserve slots to play Smash Brothers.
Oh.
So Smash Brothers is coming to the Switch, and I'm so excited for it. And no one else is going to play me in it, because no one in my family likes me playing them in Smash Brothers. I've got friends who I can play Smash Brothers with, but yeah, no, it's Yeah, so E3 is just right around the corner. I think. Actually, let me go ahead and pull it up. I'm pretty sure it's June, but let's pull it up here anyways. E3 2018. Yeah, June 12th to the 14th. That's just about 3 weeks away.
Wow.
So E3 is right around the corner. And, there's been other leaks as well. This is kind of going off on a tangent, but did you ever hear about Rage? It was a post-apocalyptic shooter.
I've heard about it. I think I saw a clip of browsing social media. I think I saw a advertisement for a Rage 2.
Rage 2 is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Rage 2 is being produced by Bethesda, same guys, Elder Scrolls Fallout series.
Yeah.
It's being produced by Bethesda, and it's being developed by Avalanche Studios. And for those of you who don't know who Avalanche Studios is, they make the Just Cause games, the super over-the-top, crazy, fun sandbox games where it's all just like it's an homage to a 1980s action flick. They also made the Mad Max open world game.
Yes.
All of those games were just incredible. And I played a little bit of the first Rage game. It was all right. It really wasn't my cup of tea. I'm a big shooter guy, but it just really didn't sit right with me.
But getting
as
it into...
soon as I learned that Avalanche is doing this, and as soon as I watched the leaked trailer, I mean, it could be leaked. I doubt it. It's probably just like a press,
Oh, sure, because, once you leak if you leak a trailer, any problems with it are immediately forgiven because it was released too early.
No.
But if it's perfect, it builds up a whole lot of hype.
Well, an image was leaked from someone, and then it's either the head of Bethesda or someone higher up in Bethesda, I can't remember his name, he responded with, "See, this is why we can't have nice things." Okay? I'm 98% certain that it's all fun and games, that they're pretending it's a leak.
Yeah.
But they released the trailer for it, or it was leaked, whatever. And the trailer also has the song Party Till You Puke playing in it by Andrew W.K., who is the creator of Party Metal. And if you guys have not listened to Andrew W.K., his words can be a little bit vulgar, but his beats and the music he writes is just over the top fun. So Party Metal is really the only way you can describe Andrew W.K.'s music.
Okay.
Anyways, I guess that's enough of the news.
Yeah, that wraps up the news for today.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to 3 episodes in.
Fantastic. And this week was my choice, and I picked Erased, not knowing what we were getting ourselves into.
Nope, and the Japanese name for it is Erased, Boku Dake ga Inai Machi.
Yes, I found that out sometime this week.
Yeah, as we were watching it, we kind of came to the realization why it's called Boku Dake ga Inai Machi. And I'll go ahead and translate for our non-Japanese speaking audience right now. That means a town without me.
A town only without me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Boku means me.
Uh-huh.
Dake means only, and then ga is like a subject, so it's saying only me.
Yes.
Inai means to not exist or to be gone. Machi is town. So it means a town that only doesn't have me. And
okay, yeah, that comes up, and we'll tell you why.
That comes up. Yeah, that comes up. Anyways,
right, so
let's get right into this.
Okay. When I was watching this anime, what I didn't... Okay. I am a fan of police procedurals. I'll watch Law & Order, CSI, the things of that nature. And so I gave certain shows a try. Things like Person of Interest or the early edition. And basically, there's a subgenre of these police procedurals that are a crime prevention. Like for some reason, somebody has a clairvoyant type power, either through technology or magic or something, but they can see something bad happening before it happens, and they're tasked to stop it. And so this is a genre that exists, and I was not aware that Erased was going to be this genre when I started.
Okay.
But it becomes pretty clear the first 10 minutes in that that's what it's going to do. We introduce our main character, and that he somehow has this power that he suddenly has this moment of deja vu, like somebody's brought him back in time, brought his consciousness back in time,
mm-hmm.
and then he's compelled to find what is different, what's wrong, what can I make right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is introduced within the first 5 minutes of the first episode as he's driving a scooter to deliver a pizza and goes through this sees a crystal blue butterfly floating in the air, gets zoomed back about a minute, and then starts wondering what's going on, and then realizes that there is a truck out of control heading towards a child in a crosswalk, and he more or less puts himself in danger to try to stop this truck to save the child's life.
Mm-hmm. And real fast, our protagonist, his name is Fujinuma Satoru.
Yes. So Fujinuma Satoru does this, and he mentions that he doesn't ever get a personal gain from doing this. It's something that happens to him, only to him. He puts himself on the line to help others, but he never gets any gain from it. As is exemplified by this incident, where he ends up in the hospital after saving this child's life, because he ends up in a head-on collision with another car.
Yeah, he tries to stop this vehicle, but the driver seems to be asleep or unconscious or something.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
We learn later that he's died of a heart attack.
Yes,
but from his perspective, he doesn't know that. He's banging on the door trying to get the driver to do something about it. And then
eventually
reaches in. He sees the child starting to cross the street. He then reaches in and turns the wheel to pull them over, which unfortunately pulls them into oncoming traffic.
Yes.
So, and then he's hospitalized because of it.
Yes. Well, he's in recovery. He's injured, but not seriously enough that he couldn't walk out later that day.
They called him a casualty.
They use the word that just translated as casualty, but he doesn't die.
I don't know. I mean, let's go ahead and talk about the opening credits here real fast. I mean, there's a shot in the opening credits where there's a bullet that looks like it's fired from a sniper rifle going straight towards him. So I'm wondering if this power of his also protects him.
Could be.
Could be. I don't know. I could be wrong about it. But from what I gathered, they thought he was dead and then he was just fine. So
okay,
yeah,
that's
kind of what I gathered from the conversation.
Okay, I didn't catch that, but it's possible that I missed it.
And he's a 29-year-old. He works as a pizza delivery guy.
Yes,
but his goal is to be a manga artist.
Yes.
And I'm going to go ahead and say one of the first things that I liked personally about this was just how relatable he was as a character because of that. My goal is to be a novelist. I've been working on some fantasy science fiction novels for years. And yet what I do to pay the bills is I do technical support for ungrateful customers. And an increasingly ungrateful company. And it's a pain in the butt. It really is. So seeing this guy stuck in this pizza delivery job while his dreams kind of feel out of reach.
Yeah.
It's very, very relatable to me personally.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that helped me connect with the character really, really easily.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, he wakes up after this wreck to see his pretty outgoing and spunky teenage co-workers sitting by the bed.
Yes.
She's not in tears or anything like that. She just happened to witness what happened.
Yes, so, they were both their co-workers. They both went on their various scooters to go deliver pizzas. She watches him deliberately make a U-turn to try to tail this truck that's going out of control. So she follows him and finds out what's going on and sees the events.
Mm-hmm.
And so she spends time with him in the hospital. And this brings me up to one of my favorite things about this guy. He is simultaneously hyper-observant and completely oblivious.
He's hyper-observant when the need arises.
Yes.
So...
But he just can't tell that this girl is trying to show interest in him. In her own way. Like, she's outgoing. She's trying to start conversations with him. And he's just like, eh.
I don't gather that she likes him. I gather that she wants to be nice and be friends with him. So, well,
she's not overly okay.
Okay,
She's in a position
the reason
like,
that I say that is because the Japanese word for like also is used for love.
Yes.
Ski.
Yes.
Okay. So she probably thinks well, obviously she thinks she's a good person.
I
don't think she's in love with him though. But anyways,
she might be trying the tsundere approach, ever so slightly.
Well, she's doing a real bad job. She's trying to do tsundere because there's nothing tsundere about her. It's
just as she left the hospital room, she said, "It's not like I like you or anything," which is the tsundere thing to say.
Yeah, but she didn't say it in the tsundere manner.
Right.
And if you guys are listening to the show and don't know what a tsundere is, that's your own fault. We're not sure how you found us. But for clarification, a tsundere is a girl who emotionally is immature in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how boys, when we're growing up, in order to show a girl that we like her, we throw rocks at her. That's what a tsundere is.
Yes, she's that. She's emotionally incapable or unwilling to be honest with her own true feelings,
whether because of personal pride or just emotional,
emotional baggage,
things like that.
But once it's a character arc that once you get her out of her shell and she's willing to love you,
mm-hmm.
she is 100% loyal and dedicated, and it's a harem trope that's been around for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely an older trope. But his coworker's name, I've got it written down here real fast.
Mm-hmm.
His coworker's name is Katagiri, my apologies. Katagiri Airi.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, she's delightful.
Mm-hmm.
And so after he leaves the hospital, he goes home to find his mother cooking in his apartment.
Yep.
Without his consent.
Yep. And my first thought was either she's a bad... Well, she said... He's like, what are you doing in my apartment? And it turns out she's from Hokkaido, which is the northern part of Japan.
Uh-huh.
She came down when he got injured and was in the hospital. I don't think they've revealed where he's at yet.
Not especially. Not
possibly Kyoto, possibly Tokyo. He is trying to be a manga artist, and it looks like he just has to take a train ride to get to where his editor is. So possibly one of the bigger cities. I'm not positive. I don't think they've actually said the name of the city it takes place in, though.
Okay.
But his mom comes down, and she says, "Oh, well, I was watching you sleep at the hospital, but then I got bored." So either she's used to this, or she's just a bad mom.
You get a feeling a little bit of both.
Yeah.
He
keeps calling her a demon.
Yes, yes, he does. Yokai. I had actually learned the term yokai earlier this week when I was watching a documentary on some of the work of Junji Ito, specifically his recurring series of a character called Tomie, where he has this girl who takes on the characteristics of a different historical I lost the word again. Yokai.
Yokai. Evil spirit.
Yeah. So there's dozens of legends of yokai, hundreds of them, and they just like the one.
It's like Quantum Leap, but with evil ghosts instead of people from different lives.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know what Quantum Leap is, I feel old.
But no, yeah, I had just learned what that word was, and it made me laugh the moment he kept calling her that. Just funny. But events progress, and she runs into. Is it at work that she runs into him and ends up inviting the 18-year-old?
No. Oh. What happens is that they're going grocery shopping, and then they walk out into the apartment, and then we have the second what does he call it again? The power
revival.
Revival, the second revival of the episode. where he's walking out into the parking lot, and all of a sudden we see the blue crystal butterfly, and then he reverses back in time for a little bit, and he realizes something bad's going on, and he is looking around, and he doesn't notice it, and then he says, "Hey, Mom, do you sense anything off?" And his mom's like, "No, but wait, you did say something like that to me years ago." And he's like, "Oh, I did?" And then they're both looking around.
Yes. And by being observant, they notice a man in a hat walking.
He doesn't. She does.
She does. She notices a man in a hat walking with a young girl with an ice cream cone towards a van, and then the van drives off without the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to. So it's not explicit. You have to be paying attention to notice this. But you notice that by them looking around and observing things going on around them, they thwarted a child abduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't even know that they've. Well, he doesn't know that they've done that. The mother gets suspicious though, and and with her phone takes a snapshot of that guy's van and license plate.
Mm-hmm. And she looks it up and sees that there's I forget what mark it is, but a Japanese character on the license plate reveals that it's a rental.
Mm.
So somebody
it was a dead end.
It was a dead end. But she that's when they run into Airi. Airi sees him and calls out to him and stuff. And then the mom invites Airi over for dinner as they're all walking home.
Yes.
And I forget exactly what line it is. The mom says something. The mom says something that sets off both Satoru and Airi. And I forget exactly what she says, but Airi's just like, how on earth did she know that? And Satoru says, "Do you believe in yokai?" And she says, "From today on, I do." And that's a running theme. The mom is just incredibly observant.
Yes.
Which is where her son gets it from. But she's incredibly observant, and later on, it's kind of a running gag. Mm-hmm. Where he's just like, she's a demon. Like, yokai. I mean, yokai doesn't really work for demon. That's why they don't really translate it in the, like, it's its own thing. It's like an evil
it's
spirit.
a very
it's not always evil. It could be just mischievous spirit.
Yes, it's
not an oni, which is a demon or a devil.
No, it's a very specific. It borrows from ancient Japanese lore. It's a very specific dark spirit. Mm-hmm. It's more like, Puck and other kind of mischievous fae who do what they want.
Mischievous fae.
It's more of a mischievous fae type translation.
Yeah. But they don't bother translating it in the subtitles. They just say yokai.
Yeah.
And most people these days who watch anime are familiar with what a yokai is.
And in our modern day, if you don't, you can find out fast.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So an episode after they meet up, they go and they have a curry at their place.
Mm-hmm.
He gives the girl a ride home on the back of Satoru gives Airi a ride home on the bicycle, and the mom is teasing him about her being really nice and being a cute girl and obviously interested in him. And she during the dinner she asks him if she's his girlfriend and stuff. She's like, "Oh no, I just think he's a good person" type thing.
Yeah.
And the mom pokes at him and stuff like that, saying that she's a good chance for you, and he's like, "She's a high schooler, I don't want to go to jail" type stuff. But as he's giving her a ride home on the back of his bicycle, we see from the POV of the man in the van, and I already have a theory on who that is, but we'll go ahead and reveal that later during the episode, during our discussion. I don't want to give too much away right now.
Right.
It's just a theory. I haven't watched any more than the first 3 episodes.
Yes. Now, something else that's been brought up is that they start talking about the backstory. They talk about things that...
Oh yeah, the very beginning of the episode, he's delivering a manga script to an editor, and then he ends up tearing it to pieces because the manga editor says, "Well, this is great, but it doesn't feel like you're digging deeply enough into yourself to give us this story. Your readers won't be able to see you in the pages without that. And then he just ends up ripping it up and dumping it into the river.
Right.
And there's a reason why he doesn't dig into himself.
Yes.
So,
and it's revealed that he had buried memories that his mother brought up. Like, it was after they were talking about, being suspicious of things happening around them, that he remembers. So she triggers a memory that in his childhood, there were kids who disappeared from his class. And a friend that he had
that he said that he called Yuki.
That he called Yuki.
Not his name, but it was a nickname.
Became suspected and ultimately
accused,
arrested, convicted, and is on death row for
kidnapping
for the kidnapping and murdering
girls.
of 3 elementary school children.
All 3 girls were in his class.
So, yeah, and so it brings out some very heavy material pretty early on, and so, like I was saying before, that the genre of kind of the adult crime dramas. This is the feel that we're of the show that we're like. There's funny moments, but the overall tone of the show is crime drama.
Yes, definitely.
Which is why it wasn't as big of a sudden shock, but it was still pretty sudden. What happens next?
Yeah, the mom the mom's doing some digging, and then Yuki's also not Yuki. Satoru is doing some digging as well into seeing what happened in his past because he doesn't remember it clearly.
Right,
he's buried it.
So he's going down memory lane trying to remember what happened, what traumatic thing happened in his childhood.
And he real fast he remembers that he saw the first girl who was killed, Hinazuki Kayo. He saw her the night before she disappeared.
Yes, and
he feels that it's his fault she's dead because if he had acted on his impulse to ask her to walk home, because you see him standing there wanting to talk to her and then he doesn't. If he had acted on his impulse to ask her to walk home with him, he thinks he could have saved her life.
Yeah.
And which is a horrible, horrible thing for a child to live with.
Yeah.
And that's why he is the way he is. He's closed off emotionally to society and things like that. His coworker Aidi is always trying to get under his skin and not really. Yeah, not until after the accident. That's when she truly tries to try to open him up and get to know him better.
Yes.
But he is very, very closed off to her attempts.
Yeah, she makes like a snip gesture at him,
trying to cut through his membrane that's covering his body.
Yes.
And he's like, "What is that? A Generation Y joke? I don't get it."
Yeah.
But also this show takes place in 2006.
Yes.
Okay, so it's actually a show, taking place currently about 12 years in our past. So
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So how about you talk about what happens next? Because the mom's been digging into this, and so has Satoru.
So the mom's been going through newspapers, going through different things. She realizes that the man on death row is innocent. She figures out. She has a very strong inclination. She thinks she figures out who the murderer is. Writes it down on a piece of paper. Folds it up. Puts it on a table with the phone near the front room when she walks in, is going to the living room, hears someone behind her, thinks it's her son, and then gets stabbed in the gut.
She turns around to see, and as she's turning around, she gets stabbed in the gut
with a butcher's knife, so very deep. And so she collapses to the ground, starts bleeding out. We don't see who did it, but she sees their face and said, "I thought it was you," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then she starts bleeding to death.
Yep, and she tries to reach for her phone to call Yuki and warn him not to come home. But as she's reaching for her phone, the killer
takes
the phone, and we see her hand collapse lifeless to the ground.
Yes.
And so the mother gets killed by this unknown
the mother's
killer.
killed in the first episode,
and he And then after that, we cut to the pizza, a place where Satoru and Airi work.
Mm-hmm.
And Airi says, hey, you should invite me over again so I could eat more of your mom's cooking sometime. He's like, yeah, fine, whatever, type thing. And he leaves. And when he gets home, he walks past the murderer, not knowing who it is. But the murderer makes a knowing glance at him.
Yes, they pass on the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we don't see the murderer's face, but we do see a red pupil, which may not be indicative of the person actually having red pupils. May just be indicative of their. It's a
stylistic choice. Yes, yeah, stylistic choice.
That once somebody becomes vicious or cruel or vindictive, that their eyes, their irises turn red.
Which we actually see in.
We see in the character later.
We see some characters later. But anyways, he walks home, he goes in, and he opens the door is open, so he starts chewing his mom out, saying, hey, this isn't your home in Hokkaido, you can't just leave the door open like that. And then he goes in and he sees that his mother has been stabbed. And, she's bleeding out. He then goes to try to, say, hey, what's going on? Get up, mom, get up. He's in shock. He grabs her, and as he kind of pulls her over, he sees the knife still in her gut. And he sees the blood on his hand, and he freaks out and backs up. And as he freaks out and backs up, the neighbor comes by, trying to return the pot that his mom gave her curry. She sees his hand covered in blood, and his reaction, she freaks out and calls the cops.
And the cops immediately want to question him.
Which makes perfect sense, It doesn't mean he's guilty. They want to question him.
However, he has no reason to trust the cops because they already got it wrong with a friend of his.
Mm-hmm. And so he freaks out, and as he freaks out, he starts running from the cops, and the cops start shouting at him, and then we see the blue butterfly again for the third time in the first episode.
Yes. And
so we think, okay, there's the symbol, there's the signal. He's going to go ahead and do his revival again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe jump back in time to where he can help his mom.
Yes.
And then it then goes to a POV shot, and he is in a street in a countryside town.
Yeah, something's wrong because it's nowhere familiar scenery, and the point of view is level with about midway of of street side mailboxes.
And he sees a child running in front of him.
Wearing a backpack.
And it's from his POV. We don't see anything else but his POV. And then he starts running after this child, and this child calls and says, hey, Satoru, hurry up, we're going to be late. And he's like, wait, why is this child calling out to me? I don't recognize him. What's going on? And he turns around the corner, and he sees his elementary school with the banner, 1988 Ice Hockey National Champions. So their elementary school won the national championship for ice hockey that year.
Yes.
And it cuts back, and we see the camera finally pans back, and we see Satoru as an 11-year-old boy in 5th grade.
Yes. And so it's established that they went back 18 years from 2006 to 1988.
Yep.
And that's when I realized that this show is also borrowing from Broadchurch. At least not literally, but from the sense that most police procedurals are one episode, one crime, one solution, you're done, and then it just repeats.
Yeah.
Broadchurch was a 13 episode series where they investigated one crime. And it was the murder of a child.
That's not unusual for
so for anime. And that's one of the reasons I love anime is because they don't tend to rely on the baddie of the week formula.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends on the show, but again, so if you're a fan of Broadchurch and you're a fan of something like Person of Interest, this and you're willing to watch anime, this is a great show for you.
This show also reminds me of Steins Gate. You haven't watched Steins Gate.
It's on my list, but I have not watched Steins Gate.
I have watched all of Steins Gate. And Steins Gate Zero, which is the sequel series, it's apparently it's mind-blowing. People are just praising it, how good it is. The story of Steins Gate, though, is this guy who is a mad scientist. He is trying to invent time travel. And he's got this microwave that's hooked up to this weird machine, and every time they try to send something through it back in time, it always comes back as weird green jelly things. So it's not working. Then they don't know why. Well, he goes to a time travel convention where only he and his close childhood friend are there. No one else shows up. He's kind of a laughingstock of the science community. Nobody takes him seriously. And he runs into a redheaded, half Japanese girl, Kirisu. It's been forever since I've seen it, so I'm probably getting this all out of order. Okay. But anyways, he runs into her during part of the day. And she's a rival for some reason, or he considers her a rival for some reason. And then later on during that day, he comes across her murdered body in a broom closet. Blood on the ground, everything, and he freaks out and he just runs for it. He then sends a text to his lab partner. I don't think he's a roommate. Anyways, he sends a text to his lab partner saying, "Hey, I just came across the dead body of so and so." And then when he does that, you see a shift, and he comes across her alive.
So. Okay.
They learn that he is able to send text messages back in time using this machine. But through the events of changing time, they've set humanity on the course of destruction. So other people who from the future are coming back and trying to put the world in order. Including murdering some of his close friends. So that's all I'm going to say. It's mind-blowingly good, though.
Okay, it sounds like a cross. Well, okay, I'm hearing Frequency, 12 Monkeys, and not Angel Beats. So what is that other one? Just a cross of various things. Just different places those elements have been used.
There is a recent sci-fi show where it's got 2 dimensions that cross over. I forget what it's called, but someone akin it to that show, the anime version.
Okay, there was a show called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's not it.
Okay.
No, this is a TV show.
Okay. Did you ever see Sliding Doors?
No.
Okay. It's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. What happens is there's a version of her. There's.
Let's finish this tangent and get back to the show. Okay. But yeah.
So she's on a subway train, and the man and she's running to get to a subway train. And then the editing gets interesting, and one version of her makes the train, and one version doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then the story tangents back and forth between, the version of her that got home early enough to catch her boyfriend cheating on her, and so she ends up leaving him, to the version that she didn't catch him. And it just goes back and forth on the various lives that they took. Mm-hmm. And the different directions that they went, just because one version of her made it to the train on time and the other one didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just an interesting alternate reality show that they did. And I don't remember the actor's name, but Jonathan from the Mummy movies plays her love interest, and so he's kind of fun there.
Okay. Fringe. That's what it is.
Oh, Fringe. Oh, that's completely different.
It's Fringe the anime. Is what I've been told.
Steins Gate.
Yep. Okay. Steins Gate is and it's Steins semicolon Gate.
Oh, and yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The show is phenomenal. You have to watch it at some point.
Oh well.
Anyways, going back to it. So yeah, that's what the show very, very much feels like after the first episode. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into episode 2. Beginning of episode 2 was the credits. In a lot of animes, they don't show the opening credits until either the end of episode 1 or the first time of episode 2.
Yeah.
And I noticed, and this is thanks to me discovering a new, to me it's new, a YouTube channel called Mother's Basement, where a guy, did I share with you how to tell if your daughter is a magical girl?
You have.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Okay. Yeah. Or how to survive if you're...
How to survive an animated harem, or how to survive an isekai.
An
It's
isekai,
his
okay.
anime educational videos.
Yes,
his public service anime series. He's only made 3 of them. I really hope he makes more.
Yes.
Anyways, he has a series called What's in an OP? An OP means opening.
Uh-huh.
And I've been watching it, been kind of fascinated by his way of dissecting it. So I've been kind of been watching OPs in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of noticed something in the OP, how there's the 3 girls in his life.
Yes.
There is the girl who's been kidnapped.
Yes.
At the beginning, when he was a child. There's his coworker, and then there's his mother.
Right.
And all 3 of them are hurt in some way in the opening credits. So I'm wondering, and we also see the faces, some film shots of people with their eyes marked out, and those people to me are the likely suspects, the likely killers, and things like that. I haven't seen more than the first 3 episodes, so obviously I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if he's going to end up saving those 3 women from various things throughout his life.
Right.
Throughout the series.
Right.
Okay. But anyways, I'll know more after I actually watch the entire show. But so episode 2 starts off, and he doesn't remember anything about being in 5th grade. Do you remember where you sat in 5th grade?
No.
He didn't. He got teased by his friends because he sat in the wrong chair. But he got in the right chair and stuff like that, and he's trying to figure stuff out, and then he leaves halfway through the day. He goes home, and he sees his mom alive and well after she comes home from working all day, and she makes him dinner and stuff. And
he's hyper polite to her.
Oh, he's overly polite to her, and it's kind of weirding his mom out.
Yes.
But he...
Ka-san.
Ka-san. Oh, Ka-san. Yeah, Ka-san. Ka-san is like Ma.
Yeah.
Ma. Anyways, he sees, and he's overjoyed. He's actually... she makes him hamburger steak for dinner, and he cries during the meal, and she's like, "What's gotten into you? Why are you crying?" and all that stuff. But yeah, he realizes kind of over the course of events that he was sent back to save his mom, and in order to save his mom, he needs to save that young girl.
Yeah. By finding, if he can solve the crime, if he can save Kaio, and if he can solve the crime, and save her life, and get this guy caught, then his mom doesn't get murdered, and everything's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what he realizes he needs to do, and so he tries to first making friends with Kaio, but she's very, very hard to approach. And his friends, he's got 4 good buddies, by the names of Hirokazu, Omasu, and Kenya. Osamu. And real fast, I'm very, very surprised that this anime is using the names that it's using. Most of the time in anime, they don't mention actual franchises, or if they do, they bleep it out. Okay, but they name drop Dragon Quest, they name drop Final Fantasy, they name drop the Super Famicom, the Famicom, the Japanese NES. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering.
And in some shows, they do that to date it.
Yeah, obviously.
So they're doing it to date it, and they're trying to establish that this is kind of a real world thing. They're trying to make this as, apart from his quirk, it's as hyper realistic as possible.
I get why they did it. I'm just surprised they shelled out the money to do it.
So they would have to pay to say these names?
Well, yeah. It's like it's advertising for those things. That's why people make up brands. That's why they make up names for stores and things like that in other shows, so they don't have to pay it. That's why whenever we see, like in Gintama, you'll see this all the time when you watch more of it. They bleep out the names of other shows and creators of other shows, so they don't have to pay them for their names.
McRonald's.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. The Devil's a Part-Timer. McDonald's or McRonald's or whatever it's called. Yeah. So they don't actually have to pay for them, and it would be even more for McDonald's because it's the logo they would be using as well.
Right.
So, and when Kentucky Fried Chicken, So no, I was very, very surprised that they went ahead. They used Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest and actually name dropped the Famicom. That does do a very good job of dating it. But yeah, they mentioned Dragon Quest 3 and a bunch of the kids are playing it and stuff like that. But he is staring at Kaio a lot, and so his friends call him out and say, "Hey, you like her, don't you? You must really like her." And one of them decides to try to help him
Yeah, set them up.
set them up.
Set them up on a riverside confession.
Yep.
Or canal side confession.
Yep.
And the first thing she says is, "Are you stupid or something?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Baka desu ka? But she, yeah, he talks to her and it doesn't go well. She's very, very cold, very, very distant. She has no interest in making any friends whatsoever. And he says, I want to become your friend, is what he says.
Yes.
And she's very, very against it. And he says, well, I really want to be your friend. And she says, really? Do you? Will you kill someone for me? Which, of course, sends him into shock.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, you're an idiot, and walks away. That doesn't deter him, though.
Right.
Because he believes in order to save his mom, he needs to save this girl.
Yes.
One of the things I also really like about this is he has almost no filter, because almost everything he thinks as an adult, he accidentally says.
Yes, he's not in complete control of his mouth as a 11-year-old. So
I shouldn't say no filter. I mean, he does control himself at times, but a lot of times he thinks something, but then
he's not aware he's saying it out.
And you can tell when those times are, because the voice actor for the adult and the voice actor for the child version of Satoru, they speak at the same time.
Yeah, that was actually something I really liked about this show, is that it like an exact opposite parallel from Overlord, where when Guy speaks, he speaks in this low, deep, rumbling voice, but when it's his mind, it's this high-pitched young man's voice. Mm-hmm. And it's just the exact opposite, is that we have a child speaking with a deep, older man's thought train.
29-year-old man in an 11-year-old body.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But he gets some help from his friends. Well, we already passed that. The next day, actually, I think it might be that night, he talks to his mom and says, I want to have a birthday party. And she's just like, really? You've never had any interest in parties? And he says, yeah, well, I really want to have one. She's like, well, we don't have a lot of room. He says, that's okay. I just want to invite 5 people. And she says, oh, okay. And then he goes to bed that night, and he's lost in his thoughts and can't sleep. And you see the mom counting on her fingers.
Like she knows his 4 friends.
She knows his 4 guy friends, but she's like, who's the 5th? This is what she's thinking. She says, hey, Satoru, did you get a girlfriend? Satoru, are you awake? Did you get a girlfriend? Is that why you want to invite a 5th person? And he just goes, yokai! And she's like, oh, you're sleeping, huh? And he's turned away from her. She's totally aware he's awake.
Yeah. Just great. I love his mom.
His mom is wonderful. She's so great. So he then, the next day, well, I'm getting the time I mixed up, but one day after school, he goes up to her in the park where he actually is the same park where he saw her last.
Yes.
Apparently she goes to that park, and he's actually seen some bruises and things on her. Yes. And he immediately assumes that she's living with her mom. And he immediately assumes that her mother is beating her. He then starts talking to her again, and she's just as cold and as unreceptive as before. And he says, I still want to be your friend, but I'm not willing to kill anybody. And he's just like, she says, that was a joke, in like the most deadpan way possible. And he's just like, I hate girls like this, thinking it to himself. But he then gives her an invite to his birthday party, which is his birthday's on March 2nd. Which gets a reaction out of her getting the birthday card, and also for another reason we learn in episode 3. But we'll go into that reason now. It turns out it's her birthday as well, the exact same day, March 2nd.
Oh wow.
And she he's like, well, you're the first person. Well, I forget what she says to kind of try to reject. And he's like, well, you're the first person I've invited.
So how many other people are going?
He's like, oh, not very many. You're the first person I invited.
Yeah. Which takes her aback.
Mm-hmm. And she calls him out for being fake, like her.
Yes.
And he agrees to it and says that, yeah, I am being fake. I put on an act. I performed because I wanted to have friends. I wanted to have that experience, so I pretended.
And pretended until it was true.
Uh-huh. Well, as an adult, we can see he no longer pretends.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he pretended because he thought he wanted that. And he says, but I decided to tell you because I don't want to lie to you. I decided I don't want to lie to you. Mm-hmm. Which breaks down some of her walls.
Yeah, it does.
And later on, is it in this episode where he reads the pace?
I think it's the next one.
Where he reads, it might be the next one where he
reads
the
book.
He okay.
But at some point he does find. So episode 1 and 2 are a little jumbled in my mind because it's going into the investigation and it's a slow progression, and so where events are a little jumbled for me. It's been a few days since I watched it, and I can't wait to finish it. I want to go watch more, but I didn't want to watch more than 3 before this, so I didn't have more to spoil. But yeah, he finds that she's written a short story, a poem or short story that ended up in a school paper publication.
It was something that the class put together.
It was a class project. So, yeah. A class art project or something.
I did something similar in my 10th grade English class where we all wrote something and we submitted it to like the magazine to put together.
Sure. It's just, there's a number of anime that feature 5th grade art festivals where a class votes on something, comes together, and produces either a play or a book of collections.
That's just it's not the sports festival.
There's a sports festival, there's an arts festival, or some...
Oh, the cultural festival is what it is. And it's not just a 5th grade thing, it's they do it all the way through high school. Every year, it's a big event.
Yes, but all I'm saying is, not only are they doing it in this 5th grade class, we just watched an episode of Sakura with Wendy that they did one where they decided they were going to do a play. And they're going to... But to be fair, everybody was going to just put their names on a list that would randomly assign them what role they were going to play, which assigned Sakura as Prince Charming and Lee as Sleeping Beauty.
I think I remember that.
And Mei Lin as Maleficent.
Yay. Yay. Anyways.
So, and that's the episode we just watched today.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it's a thing. So it's possible that their class put together a whole bunch of short stories and put them all together in a book.
Yeah.
Because what he did is he ended up finding this book and reading the short story. And the title of the short story she wrote was...
Hold on. Let me go ahead and pull up the Japanese name again. It's Boku Dake ga Inai Machi. And it's the short story about how when she's an adult, she wants to leave this town.
And go far away.
She wants to leave this town behind, and the town's going to continue existing without her. And she just wants to go to this deserted island where it's just her, and she can climb a tree whenever she wants. She can swim whenever she wants. She can eat whenever she wants. She can sleep whenever she wants. She just wants to go to a place where it's just her and nobody else. And he realizes that this is a cry for help. That this story that she put in there was a cry for help, and she wants help, but doesn't know how to ask for it. Mm-hmm. But he puts that's in episode 3, and he discovered the bruises on her and stuff like that, and then he goes and he talks to the teacher, who knows about the abuse, or he suspects the abuse.
He was aware of it, and we find out that he has called child services 3 times, but the mother's been privy to it every time, and has been able to hide the abuse each time, so that
they haven't been home, so they weren't able to do anything. So.
Right. And so, despite his efforts have been thwarted to date.
Mm-hmm. And he, this is kind of all getting jumbled just because, it all happens so quickly. There's so much that happens.
It's good pacing, though.
Oh, it's very good pacing. It doesn't feel rushed when you're watching it, but as we're talking about it, like in previous episodes, we've been able to keep the order of things pretty consistent.
Yes,
but
because
in this one, it's
the way it unfolds, like it's a murder mystery. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to piece together, because the entire time we're watching it, we're wondering, when are we going to find out who's the killer?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking for pieces. And so in our own minds, we're taking these pieces,
Yeah.
and so it looks like, that it's all over the place. But that meme from what's it called?
It's always
It's
sunny.
always sunny in Philadelphia, where the guy's got a board with all the newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what our minds are literally doing, is we're piecing together the clues that are coming together.
Yeah.
And we're assembling the story not chronologically, but as a frame of a puzzle.
Mm-hmm. And he tries to walk her home one day, but she's not there.
Uh-huh.
And she's not at the park either. And so he goes to her home. And real fast though, the reason we learn that he learns her birth date is the same as his is because he asks her and she doesn't respond. Because she actually gets upset at him because the boys are having a competition skating around the playground for gym that day, and he is dominating the school's star hockey player in this race.
Yes.
And he doesn't remember if he's supposed to win or lose this race. So he decides it's probably because he thinks he's got this ability because he's a 29-year-old man in a
he has the refinement. He has the youthful exuberance of a 10 to 11-year-old, but the refinement and control that being 29 would give him.
Mm-hmm. So he's decimating the school's star hockey player.
They're neck and neck the whole time.
Oh, he's not neck and neck. He's in front of him.
Yeah.
He's in front of him the entire time. And then he realizes I'm probably not supposed to win this, and so he lets the other guy win, which it's obvious to Kaio or Akai. Let me get the name again.
Kaio.
Yeah. It's obvious to Kaio that he let him win after he said to Kaio, I'm going to go all out.
I'll do as fast as I can.
I'll go as fast as I can. And Kaio takes that as a lie after he promised not to lie to her, and so she distanced herself from him again.
Yeah.
But he then remembers that he did the exact same thing when he was there before, and remembers the exact same result where the athlete gets pissed at him because he knows he let him win.
Yeah, I hate punks like you.
But anyways, Kenya is the one who gives him the clue. Kenya, the smart blonde friend,
yes,
out of their group of friends.
Yes.
He's the one who talks to Satoru. He says that I don't think you're trying to become friends with Kaio because you like her or because you're in love with her. You read the class book, didn't you? And he's like, oh, I don't remember. Okay. Or like it's and that's when he goes and he reads the book, and that's when he reads the story Boku Dake ga Inai Machi. And so he
so he ends up going through school records without permission.
Yeah, he goes to the teacher's office. The teachers all share one big office in Japanese schools. And he goes there to go to his class records, and as he's about to open it, the teacher comes up. And he talks to him honestly and says, well, I just wanted to know what her birthday was. He says, well, why don't you ask her? Well, I did, and she didn't tell me. He's like, oh, okay. And so he just gives him the book, and he's just like, I see that you're becoming friends with her. That's good. And that's when Satoru says she's being abused.
Yeah.
We need to do something about it. And the teacher says, yes, I know.
He knows.
So
but
that's why.
The teacher knows. But if he tells the class, it may result in her being even more bullied by the class than she already is. So that's why he hasn't brought it up. He's left that private. And he says, if we do something about it, you may never see your friend again. She may end up going into protective custody and being hidden away from her family. And you may never see her again.
He says, as long as it saves her life, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, if it saves her life, I'm okay if I never see her again, if I know if it saves her from the situation she's in.
And she doesn't come to school I believe it's the next day she doesn't come to school. And that's when he goes to the park. She's not there. He's worried about her. Oh, real fast. The reason he is trying to find what her birthday is because he remembers a flashback when he looked through a magazine when he was an adult, and he sees the 3 girls who were kidnapped and then killed, and he sees their ages, and 2 of the girls were 11.
Yes.
One of them was 10.
Yes.
And in 5th grade, you are 10 and 11. So Kayo is 10. So he knows that that she was killed before her birthday happened.
Yes.
So he needs to know when her birthday is so he can make sure she makes it to that.
Yes.
And if that happened, he's already changed the future.
Right.
So that's why he needs to know what her birthday is. And it turns out it's the same day as his own. So that's his reason for finding out what her birthday is.
And so he writes down on his own calendar, if he can keep her alive through to his birthday, he'll have changed history.
And he goes to her house, and he's being teased by his friends because he doesn't have any gloves and it's winter.
Yes, and he thinks he may have left them at their secret hideout, and he says, "Can we go?" And they all look at him like he's out of his mind because they had agreed that they would never go to the secret hideout when it's snowing because it would leave footprints and people would find out where their hideout is.
Which is suspicious to me. Anyways, that's one of the things that is making me guess who I think the killer may be, because they dropped that hint. That to me that's a Chekhov's gun.
Okay.
That's a Chekhov's gun where they mention the hideout and then don't actually go to it. The writing is too smart in this show to not be aware of what they did there.
Something is happening there.
I mean, and in the flashback they kind of revealed that she was missing until the snows went away and they found her body in kind of a dump. And as little boys go, a dump is a perfect hideaway, so I think that's their hideout. That's just me guessing. I don't know. That's just me trying to put things together.
Right.
Anyways, which is what you do when you watch a murder mystery. This is part of the fun of the show.
Yeah, it's hard to keep things linear in a murder mystery because they're just you're giving you pieces.
But anyways, he then goes to her house, rings the bell. There's no one there. He tries to open the back door. Not creepy at all, but and he's an 11-year-old kid. Tries to open the back door. It's locked. He's like, well, nobody's home. What's going on? He looks down and he sees a pair of mittens that have been burned and are laying in the snow. And the reason I bring it up is because he realizes that she doesn't have gloves either.
Yes, there's a scene where they establish neither of them have gloves. And they do a hand-to-hand thing, and it's kind of romantic at first. And then, they're kind of weirded out by it.
Well, he's more weirded out by it than she is. So,
and then she's a little weirded out by the fact that he's weirded out by it. It's like, why are you acting so dumb?
Yeah. Anyways, the romantic part comes later.
Yeah.
With the foxes.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah. Anyways, he then sees that her backpack has been discarded and all the contents are just spread out in the backyard of their apartment. And he goes and he opens up the little storage shed behind their apartment, and he sees Kayo bruised, beaten, pretty much in a slip. And he goes to grab her, and as he does, Kayo's mom grabs him and stops him, picks up Kayo, and says,
"You silly girl, what are you doing out here?"
Yeah, you silly girl, what are you doing out here? Let's come inside. You're going to get cold. Well, he takes off his coat and tries to give it to her because he thinks she's going to get sick.
Yes.
But he says, "Hey, what?"
And she screams, "Don't touch me."
Yeah, she says to him, "Don't touch me. Don't look at me." But he asks the mom, how did she get all those bruises? And he knows that it's from her or from someone close to her. And he's clenching his fist all the time. And he goes and and she says, "Well, Kayo, why don't you tell him?" And then Kayo lies and says, "I fell."
The most obvious. Most obvious.
Yep. And
abuse, victim, deception.
Yep, and then the next day, we learn Kayo is late to school on Mondays, and the reason she's late to school on Mondays is because she's beaten over the weekends by either her mom or her mom's boyfriend. I think it's her mom's boyfriend, or maybe a combination of the two.
I think her mom beats her, and the boyfriend does worse things to her.
Maybe, I don't know. But the mom, in order to disguise the bruises, she forces Kaio to... She pretty much pushes her head into a sink of ice water.
Yes.
To try to take care of the bruises and stuff.
And the boyfriend's sitting there in the other room saying, hey, don't use up all the ice.
Save some for me. As he's smoking and he's got a bottle of booze on the table and stuff.
Yep.
Anyways, she... this is going to be a long episode. We have a lot to say about this.
It's fine.
But
I'm just getting...
She comes to school the next day with a bruise on the back of her neck. Late, because she's late every Monday. And she's actually assigned as one of the class reps that week. Where they go in, she and Satoru have the assignment together, probably because the teacher knows that Satoru is trying to be her friend. And so Satoru goes in, he starts the heater. It's up to them to collect the lunch money for that week and to do all these things. And they collect all the lunch money. And then during lunch that day, Satoru, and I see you remembering this now.
Oh, it's a powerful scene.
It's a powerful scene. And Satoru says, oh no, really, I misplaced the money. Do I really have to go through this? And then he stands up and says, teacher, I've misplaced the money. And everyone goes, huh? And then immediately the girl sharing the desk with Satoru stands up and says, I don't think it was misplaced. I think it was stolen. And it was probably stolen by Kaio. Because she's poor and needs the money. And the rest of the...
And the rest of class starts murmuring and says, I know how we can solve this. Have everybody check each other's backpacks. And sure enough, the money is in Kaio's backpack. And she deadpan just lifts it up. Well, here it is.
Oh, hey, here's the money. And the girl immediately starts accusing her, saying, I knew it. I knew you were a thief, you poor person, and stuff like that. Yeah. And Satoru yells.
Oh, he rips her a new one.
He rips her a new one and says, just because she's poor, it doesn't mean she's a thief.
And anybody could have planted that.
Anybody could have. And it's not him that says that. It's his friend. It's his friend Kenya, the blonde boy, that says anybody could have taken the money and put it in her bag. And the girl starts crying.
Yes.
But we also notice that she's sweating, so she's nervous about it at some point. So it's obvious that she did it. She didn't try to get Kaio in trouble.
She absolutely did it in trying to get Kaio in trouble. And we find out why a little later.
Yeah, we find out why a little later. And the teacher says, class, there's no reason for her not to have the money. She helped with the money collection this week. Why wouldn't she be holding on to it? And the class just goes, oh, yeah, I guess that's true, huh? So, yeah. And she is grateful that he stood up for her.
Oh yeah, you know? it's a huge relationship building moment for the two of them. They end up they're on trash duty, so they end up carrying
the classroom reps do all that stuff.
And and during a scene when they're carrying 2 full trash cans down to the dumpster, she explains what happened is that this girl years ago was teasing her about her pencil nubs and how small
she has pencils. Yeah, she has pencils. She's so poor that she has pencils, and she's got well, I guess having pencils doesn't make you poor, but they're kind of pencils that have been ground down to almost an inch.
Yes.
They've just been completely used, and then she has little special holders to help her hold on to them because they're so small.
Yeah. And
her friend, or not her friend, but this girl has a mechanical pencil.
So she was teasing her, and so she retaliated by throwing that girl's pencil out the window. And they've hated each other ever since.
Well, and then this girl invited her over to a Christmas party, but the entire reason she invited her over is so that she could
flaunt her Christmas tree.
Show off her Christmas tree. Anyways, Satoru then says, well, how about I show you a real Christmas tree? And she's just like, are you an idiot? Because it's it's like, what, February 4th? What? I think it's the 19th?
The middle of February. There's a couple weeks away.
I think it's February 19th or around then.
Yeah.
And she excuse me.
So she continually calls him an idiot.
Yeah, she calls it. But she goes with him. Are you an idiot? And he gives her a pair of gloves. They're worker gloves, but it's better than nothing. And he says, well, I want to show you this Christmas tree. And he goes up and he climbs up they climb up a mountain, and she gets tired and stuff, so he takes her hand and helps her along and stuff. And the romantic moment comes when he says, he's explained to her that he came up here a lot. He's seen a lot of cool things. He's even seen some red foxes. Yes. And when he sees these red foxes, and then 2 red foxes run up and actually circle the 2 of them, just run around them in a circle. And then she grabs his arm because she's kind of scared of them.
Sure.
And after a bit, the foxes just leave them alone. And he says to himself, oh, wait, yeah, no, I remember this moment. I remember having those two foxes run around me like that, but when I told my friends, no one believed me. But she's here with me now. And then they realize that she's holding onto his arm like they're a couple, and they freak out, and 11-year-old kids do, and then go their separate ways. And then they not go their separate ways, but they separate themselves for a little bit, and they go and they see the Christmas tree.
Yes, what the Christmas tree is... Yeah. Okay, so describing the Christmas tree, it's a giant, I want to say maple or oak, but it has none of the leaves, and it's not your standard, what you'd expect for it's not a pine, it's not an evergreen. It's a leafless tree that has all of these icicles on every single branch, and the icicles are reflecting the rainbow of stars, and there's like the slightest hint of an aurora in the sky as well, that's causing the tree's icicles to glow these rainbow colors, and it's just glorious. It's beautiful. And she has the most adorable smile. She smiles for the first time, and it's that smile that is worth every bit of pain to try to get her to have. Yep. To see. And he says, "Let's come back here during, I think it's the summer or something, when the snow thaws," and she says yes. And then the episode closes by us seeing an outside of the window shot of the teacher talking to Kenya. And that's where the episode ends. Yes, it's very suspicious. Yep. And they're probably trying to throw suspicion on those two. It's possible. That being said, I think Kenya's the murderer. You think the little blonde boy is? The little blonde boy is the killer. Interesting. Yeah. I can't put my name on it. One, he's way too smart for a kid his age. Okay. He's a constant peacemaker, trying to keep the status quo of things going. I see. I see. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, my suspect. Also, real fast before the killer looked like he had blondish hair, and he looked at both the mom and Satoru as if he knew them. So it's definitely somebody from the past. And he didn't look old enough to be the teacher. The teacher, adding 18 years to the teacher. The other thing was, and, the biggest red herring that they threw out at this point, and it might be, so we haven't seen the end, but the girl's mother's man in her life. I don't know if it's a husband. I don't know if it's the father or it's just some boyfriend. He's blonde, they say, and he has the red eyes. But but that's why we think it's like the stylistic. The mother had the red eyes as well. The mother occasionally had the red eyes. It was a thing. It was a passing thing. Yeah. But yeah, the man was blonde and had that. But yeah. It's too early to... They're definitely throwing suspicions both at that man, the teacher, and I wasn't even beginning to suspect the boy that you were mentioning, but maybe. We'll find out. Okay. It's just like that scene in Men in Black where that girl who he put a bullet through, like in the train in the training scene, where it's like those books are way too advanced for her. She is up to something. A girl that young walking around the street like this late at night with all these monsters around. She is up to something. Would you please say why poor Susie had to be put down or something like that? One bullet straight through the forehead. A great rip. Boom. I was like, man, he's not snarling, he's sneezing. Yeah, he's got the tissue. And he's not... he's hanging there, but no, he's working out. Yeah. So how angry would I be if somebody came in and busted me while I was on the treadmill, huh? So the books are way too advanced for a girl her age. She's up to something. Yes. All right. So yes, great show. It's great. It's a phenomenal show. It's on many people's top 10 lists. Really? Apparently. Just for this season or overall? I think there's only the one season. I think it's only these 13 episodes. Well, is it? When did this anime first air? I'm not 100% sure. Let me take a look. The problem is, I was in preparation for this episode and for this podcast, I was collecting names and stuff from the wiki and it gave me the name of the person who's the killer, but I didn't recognize the name, and I didn't delve into the wiki any further.
I just write down the names as they come up. So
yeah. But okay,
2016. So yeah,
So it
for
came
some
out
reason I was
2
under the
years ago.
impression that this was something that came out, that this was a recent release, but it's been a couple of years.
So
yeah,
it's-
winter 2016. Okay.
So winter 2016, that means that it took place 10 years before its release date, and then jumped back 18 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Alright, so. Yes. My last great thing about this was definitely K.O.'s smile
Yeah,
there at the end of
yeah.
that episode.
No, it's wonderful. But I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Definitely haven't, if you haven't watched it yet. I watched it on Crunchyroll. I think you did the same. So if you've got a Crunchyroll subscription, I mean, at this point, you have access to the entire thing. If you don't even have a membership, you just have to watch it with commercials.
Yep.
But for me, I totally am fine with paying for a Crunchyroll membership just because I hate commercials. And that way I know
Sure.
that my money's going to something that I love, which is anime. Anyways,
That said, I don't mind the commercials so much because every once in a while they'll self-market and then they'll show me an anime that I hadn't heard of that I want to see.
here's my issue with their commercials. When I was watching them on my tablet when I was at the gym, I didn't have a membership at the time. I was just watching it for free. They would show the exact same commercial 6 times in a row.
It's true.
And it was a commercial for Nicki Minaj or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
I can't stand her. I can't stand her music, her look,
No,
her
yeah,
style,
not-
nothing.
not-
And was the
yeah,
exact same. It drove me insane. So
Their
I'm
advertisements, yes.
I'm fine with pain.
Their advertisements are a bit wonky.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch it on Verve, which has Crunchyroll, Funimation, and a number of other channels all rolled into one. And some of my problems is that, sometimes it's the same commercial 3 times in a row, but sometimes, again, I probably aired this grievance before, but I'm watching Cardcaptor Sakura with my 7-year-old daughter when advertisements for Agent Cat or Deep Space 69 or anything on the Shudder channel, which is a horror content.
They need to do a better job with their commercials.
They need to do a better job of filtering their commercials to better suit the content.
Maybe they do such a bad job on their commercials on purpose to get people to pay for a membership. Dastardly. Anyways, that's it for the 3 episodes in.
So this week was my choice, and next week it's yours.
Next week it's mine, and we're going to watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And that's German, the Die Neue These, or whatever that is. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that properly. But one of the reasons I want to watch this is because it is a remake of the original series. And the original series is one of those classic animes like Galaxy Express 999.
Oh, okay.
It's got 110 episodes or something like that.
Okay.
And what they've done with this one is new animation style, better animation technology, and what they've done is that they've sped things up.
Okay.
So, like how Dragon Ball Z became Dragon Ball Z Kai, where they just cut out all the filler.
Yes.
Exact same thing.
Okay.
So I've heard great things about it. It's new this season. And I really, really want to see the first 3 episodes and see what it's like.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so tune in next week for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Die Neue These.
I'm sorry. I can pronounce Japanese, but the European languages, I'm not even that good with English. Anyways, so now for our recommendation of the week, and for recommendation for the week for me is a mod for Skyrim called Bruma. And this is brought to us by Beyond Skyrim. It's a group of modders where they have dedicated themselves to recreate all of Tamriel, which is the continent that the Elder Scrolls takes place on. Plus a couple of outer islands and stuff like that. All using the Skyrim engine. And recreating it faithfully to where it's modern day Tamriel. Modern day meaning the time of when Skyrim took place.
Okay.
Tamriel. So, Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind. All right.
Yes, I've played Morrowind.
You played Morrowind. So
that's the only Elder Scroll I've played, but yes.
Yeah. oh, you need to do yourself a favor and get Skyrim at some point. There's 7-8 versions of it you can get for cheap. Anyways, the Skyrim, oh shoot, losing my train of thought. Anyways, Morrowind, in this time period, it takes place hundreds of years after Elder Scrolls 3 and Elder Scrolls 5. Morrowind has pretty much been leveled by a volcanic eruption. So they are recreating Morrowind in the wake of this devastation.
Okay.
And they're releasing it all as completely free mods. And they were planning on doing Bruma as a proof of concept, but it became so big that it's pretty much a decent-sized DLC with its own items, its own voice acting, its own quest lines, and things like that. Just a massive city that they've released with a bunch of things for you to do in it for completely free. And it has over 1 million downloads on Nexus. The trailer, and the great thing about Bruma is that it brought in a bunch of people who were modders who had no idea about this project, and now the project is really they've been able to create separate teams, and they use this website to make sure everybody is communicating properly and things like that. It's just fantastic. I mean, really, this should be more of a creator shout out, but it's just such a cool thing, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I downloaded it last night. And I was going to play it today, but then I remembered I still had to watch the 3 episodes for our recording, so I watched those and came right here.
Okay.
But anyways, I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I'm very excited to dive into it.
Okay. Which brings us to our last segment, the creator shout-out. And I want to give a shout-out to someone that I follow on Instagram. Their call sign is ArtGerm. Now, I showed you some pictures of theirs, and you told me that you may have seen their booth at Comic-Con.
I believe so, yes.
At some point. This gentleman is a teacher at an art and animation school, and fills his and sells books of his own artwork that he publishes. So go ahead, go on Instagram, follow him. He does these fantastic Prisma pen sketches of anime characters, and his Instagram feed is just loaded with them, and they're just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. And he has his Discord server listed in his Instagram profile.
Oh, cool.
So where you can go and maybe watch his live sessions.
Okay.
So again, ArtGerm, ArtGerm. So look him up and tell him we sent you.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for this week.
That is it.
Well, it's been I think this was a pretty good episode. Anyways, it's a long one, a bit longer, but we really got into that conversation about Erased. It's a pretty good show.
It's really fantastic. Go and watch it.
Anyways, I've been Andrew.
I've been Lee.
And this has been Whittaker Weekly. Have a great week.
See you next week.